Welcome to the Cycling Demystified 12 Days of Bike Fitting. If this is your first time here, I'm your host, Wei, lead bike fitter of Foundation Bike Fit, and I'll be joined by my fellow fitter Matt and our in-house mechanic Ev from Frequency Cycle Works. 2024 has been an amazing year for the podcast, and as we near the end of the year, we wanted to create a little something extra to say thanks to all of you for listening, for your feedback and for all of your support. So what we've done is asked bike fitters from around the world and friends of the podcast to contribute an actionable bike fit tip to help you find even more comfort, efficiency and performance in 2025. Each day in the lead up till Christmas, we will play one tip and then the team and I will explore each tip in a bit more detail so you can get the most from all these nuggets of gold. And day 12 is brought to you by Kate from Hackney Bike Fit.
Hi, Wei and Matt. Thank you for asking me to contribute a bike fitting tip towards your podcast. My name is Kate. I'm from Hackney Bike Fit and I'm a talk trained bike fitter and personal trainer, though I just concentrate on the bike fitting nowadays. I'm sure you've covered a lot of very important topics. I'm going to cover the one which I've seen missed out the most, which is the saddle setback. Now, for every time you move your saddle forward, you need to move it up, and move it back, you need to move it down. And you do this in a 6:2 ratio because your saddle is on the outside of a circle. If you move your saddle forward by 6 mil, you need to move it up by 2 mil. And if you move it back 6 mil, you need to move it down 2 mil. Now, if you move your saddle forward and up, it has the advantage of placing you more directly over the pedals, which gives you more stomping power for the same amount of effort, which is excellent. But I work with a lot of smaller riders who are riding the extra small frames. Our difficulty is that our frames have already been adapted, so we are riding the same size wheels as people on the large bikes. That has resulted in a very straight seat post angle, which is the equivalent of having thrown us forward quite far. So for a lot of the smaller women riders, I find myself trying to push their position back just to get them more balanced. If you are too far forward, then you'll find that the pressure on your hands and your shoulders becomes unbearable, especially on the longer rides. So if you've looked at every other aspect of your bike and you're still getting hand and shoulder pressure, try pushing your seat back and down a little bit to get you more balanced. If you try both directions and it doesn't seem to make much of a difference either way, then by moving your saddle forward, you'll just become a more powerful rider for the same amount of effort, which is great. That's what we want. But the main thing is, just give it a go. It doesn't require any new parts, just a couple of the right size hex keys. I use a chalk pen to mark where I've been and where I'm going. You can use a little bit of tape if you don't have one. Have some fun. Give it a try.
All right, there was lots of stuff in there, Kate. Thanks for that tip. We're going to try and keep it to just a few points because we could really dissect all those tips a lot. I think the first one is to talk about the weight distribution and how your saddle position relates to your weight distribution on the bike and how you feel on the bike. And this goes back to John Higgins's tip way back at the beginning of all our tips that we had about gravity and your weight distribution, how that affects how you feel on the bike. And as Kate was saying, if your weight distribution, if your hips are too far forward and that throws your weight forward, then you're going to feel a lot more pressure on your hands and shoulders into the front of your feet. If you get a more balanced position on your saddle, then you can feel more balanced on the saddle itself. You can sit on the back of the saddle, it feels more comfortable. And how you can start to experiment with where your saddle is fore and aft, as Kate was saying, is simply to move the saddle forward and back. But if you want to retain the same leg extension, i.e. your seat height relative to your feet, as you move your saddle forward, you do have to move your saddle up a little bit. Otherwise, if you just move your saddle forward, effectively you're just pushing your hips closer to the bottom bracket. Assuming that your saddle height is good and you want to retain that saddle height, experiment with just shoving your saddle 6 mil forward and then raising up 2 mil, and that should approximately create the same leg extension and allow you to experience what it feels like with more of your body weight forward. Does that have the advantage of creating easier pedaling, more body weight on top of the pedal stroke, effectively creating a little bit more power, easier pedaling, and offsetting that against the amount of weight that you feel through your hands and shoulders and the front of the saddle, and whether or not that is a good trade-off or not. And similarly, going backwards, if you need to feel like you need to move your weight distribution backwards, then move your saddle back 6mm, but also drop it 2mm so that you keep the same leg extension and see what happens. As Kate was saying, I think there's no better way of figuring out what's good for you than just testing it out, seeing what happens, whether or not there's a positive change or negative change, or where the changes are. And if you don't know if a change has been good or bad, just put it back to where it was and then retest it, and then put it back to the new position and retest it. No better way of figuring stuff out than to test. So yeah, go forth, test some stuff out, see what happens. Thank you for making it through to day 12 of the 12 days of bike fitting, and from all of us at Cycling Demystified, we wish you the very happiest of Christmases. But wait, there's more. Stay tuned over the next few days for more bonus episodes, more bike fit tips from even more bike fitters, and of course our own personal thoughts to take you through into the new year. Alright, catch you tomorrow. If you've enjoyed what you've heard or found any of the information has made a difference for your riding, we would be super grateful if you could do two things. Firstly, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star rating or review, as this really helps other riders find our podcast and access the same useful information you've been enjoying. Secondly, tell your friends on the next group ride to give us a listen. The more you can spread the word, the more riders can find a better ride. Thanks again, and catch you on the next one.
Suffering from numb hands, tingling toes, and any other persistent discomforts when you ride? These are all signs that your bike fit could be improved. If you're bike fit curious, get in touch with Way or Matt by emailing info@foundation.fit or finding them on Instagram @FDN_bikefit. Finally, for all your bike servicing needs, custom dream bike or hand-built wheels, go to www.frequencycycleworks.com or find me on Instagram @frequencycycleworks. Until next time, keep on spinning.